Investing in wall, ceiling, and floor finishes can feel really boring, but does make your home look high quality and expensive instantly. So today we're turning the bedroom's worn down, really cigarette smelling wall, ceiling, and floors into beautiful and really smooth surfaces. All to ensure that high standard look, yet very cozy feel. But to do this can cost a lot of money and take a lot of time. So I'm also going to try a couple of different tricks to see if we can achieve more with less money and less time. If you are new here, my name is Linnea and you are watching a series where I'm, as an architect, are renovating 11 homes to see if I can build a sustainable real estate business. Okay, so this is the room that we are working with. One of the walls we have already replaced with a new plaster wall. And if you want to know why, you can go and watch this video where I share the full design plan for the bedroom and why we decided to replace the old wall with this new one. And after taping and mudding and spending a lot of time sanding, this wall now has a beautiful, super smooth finish ready to be painted. So let's turn around and focus on the other 3 walls. Here we have about 5 layers of different types of wallpaper. And first thing first, to get the high quality that we want, we need to remove it all. Both to be able to get rid of the cigarette smell, but also there's a lot of holes and cracks in these walls, and to be able to repair those, we need to remove all the wallpaper. And to be able to do this, I use this wallpaper remover steamer. If you need to remove a lot of wallpaper, I can highly recommend investing in one. They're not very expensive, but they help and speed up the process so much. It still does take a lot of time if there is a lot of layers to remove, but at least for me, if I put in some podcasts, I can get the work done with an ease. And with all the wallpaper removed, we could now see all the holes and all the cracks that were behind. So to get the high quality look that we want, we needed to patch it all up and repair it all. And to do this, we used wall compound, sometimes 1 layer, sometimes 2 layers. And with all of it dried, we could start the sanding process. And in this case, we didn't need to spend too much time sanding, because we were going to use a renovation wallpaper, which helps to smooth out the finish of the wall. And this is something you can use instead of using a skim coat to get that really, really nice and high quality finish. After having used this product in our office, we were convinced that this was the way to go. Especially as we also have the experience of skim coating in our previous apartment. And this is a process that takes several days. You need to apply several layers, you need to let it dry, you need to sand, and it leaves your whole apartment with a layer of dust everywhere. And to say the least, it's genuinely a very hideous process. And on top of that, it actually also costs a lot of money. So if we, for example, were to skim coat these 2 walls ourselves, it would cost us about 2,800 Swedish krona, whereas if we apply renovation wallpaper, it will only cost us about 800 krona. So a big difference both in time and money. And I think that the finished look of the renovation wallpaper, if you're not a professional, is much better most of the time than doing a skim coat yourself. And hanging the wallpaper is pretty easy and very similar to hanging any other type of wallpaper. The main difference is that you need to apply the glue directly to the wall, and you need to use a different type of glue than regular wallpaper. Just ask in the store and they will know what is best to use. The other thing is that it's much thicker than a regular wallpaper, which means that when you come to the corners or any openings, it's a little bit more tricky to get it perfect, but definitely not too hard for any DIYer to do themselves. And with all of it put up, Joachim caulked the seam between the wall and the ceiling. This always helps to make the look feel more professional. And I think in general, just if there is a seam, do try to caulk it before you do any painting jobs. Now we were close to starting the paint job, but to be able to do this, we also needed to do a deep clean of the ceiling and the window sill. And the reason for this is that if someone has been smoking in a room, there is this oily texture from the nicotine that is being left on all the surfaces. And if you apply paint on top of that, it will not stick. So we spent some time making sure we got rid of all that nicotine, and then it was time to apply the paint. Starting with the ceiling and the window frame, I use a insulation paint, which helps to lock in any existing or last remaining smells in a room. And to get a really premium finish, I use a paint sprayer to apply all the paint. Since we are nowadays using a paint sprayer, you need to prepare the paint slightly differently than when you just use a roller. And essentially the big difference is that you need to add additional water to the paint to make it more liquid so that you can spray it more easily. The other thing we have realized so far when it comes to using a paint sprayer instead of a roller is actually that, oh, I need to concentrate when pouring. There we go. Is that it's a lot faster. It does take some time to mask everything off, like we just did with the window and the radiator. But in the end, it's still much quicker than having to use a roller. If you do paint a lot, I think it's worth investing in a paint sprayer. They're cheap ones, they're expensive ones. You can do your own research and see what suits your budget and your needs. But I think if you want that high quality, expensive look, the paint sprayer creates a result that you will never be able to get with a roller. With the paint in the ceiling dried, I moved on to painting the walls. So first masking off the top layer of the ceiling and then applying 2 coats of Jotun icy blue on all the walls. And I think it turned out amazing. But if you also watched the previous video, you might be wondering, why have I not painted the ceiling blue yet? Well, the reason for this is that I wanted to apply the paint on the walls to see how that turned out. And in this way, I would find it easier to decide on the exact color for the ceiling. I knew I wanted it to be blue and a lighter blue, but I wasn't quite sure how light or how dark I wanted this ceiling color to be. And having the result of the wall color really helped me to make a decision. In general, if you're struggling to decide on a paint color, I think this is a good idea to try to apply the colors you know you want before making a decision on the rest of them. So I went to the store, got the paint that I wanted, and then I went on to masking off all the walls. This is maybe the reason why you want to avoid not making all your decisions at the start, because it's not the most environmentally friendly decision to mask off all your walls again to be able to paint the ceiling. But at the same time, to repaint the ceiling is also not the best for the environment, so you can find your own balance here. And as you probably understand, it's a bit tricky to film when I'm paint spraying, but if you're very interested in this process, do leave a comment below and I will make a video in the future sharing some more how I use the paint sprayer. Now all the walls and ceiling were finished, and let's just stop and say we were very happy with how it turned out. But we were equally excited to move on to installing the oak flooring. So we got started with marking out where our built-in wardrobes were going to be, because we didn't want to put flooring underneath these wardrobes. And with that done, we then moved on to starting to lay the floor. And in this case, we used a different flooring than in our office. And the reason for this is simply that if you didn't watch the office video, I can tell you that the flooring that we got for the office was not a DIYer friendly floor at all. We did so many mistakes that the excess flooring that we were going to use for the bedroom, well, we didn't have enough in them, so we had to get another type of flooring. It's very similar to the one we have in the office, and the best of all is that it's much easier to install. So after about 3-4 hours, the room was finished, and we could start to put up all the baseboards and paint them in the same color as the ceiling to tie the whole room together and finish it all off. And now we're finally done creating these super smooth, beautiful, and high quality looking surfaces for our bedroom. And I think it's always worth investing in this because it adds so much to the end result when you have walls without cracks, holes, stains, and when the floor is in perfect condition, as well as the ceiling. So we were very happy with how it turned out, and I'm very glad we invested in these steps. So in the next video, we are going to tackle the built-in wardrobe. I didn't mention it a lot in this video, but the back wall is going to have a full built-in wardrobe. And I'm really excited to share with you how we use secondhand PAX wardrobes as a foundation and then create our own plywood doors to really make this high quality Scandinavian yet grounded feel for our wardrobes. So if you don't want to miss that, consider subscribing to my channel. And if you did learn something new today, do give this video a thumbs up and I shall see you in the next one.